Good morning. I'm Aric Press from American Lawyer Media, ALM, here in New York. I'm very sorry that I couldn't accept your invitation in person, but grateful to the conference organizers for allowing me to speak with you briefly this morning by the wonders of 21st century technology from here in New York. I want to begin by congratulating Ron and Zohar and the Israeli Bar for organizing this conference. It seems like a particularly fine moment to be doing it, and I only wish that I had been able to attend with you in person, because not only would I have enjoyed being back in Israel, where I haven't been since my honeymoon, but secondly, I tend to learn more with my mouth closed and my ears opening, listening to all of you. I won't have the benefit of that today, and that I deeply regret. I hope at another time I'll be able to visit with you in person. Ron asked me to talk with you a little bit today about the state of the large firm legal market here in the United States, a little bit around the world, and to the degree that it's applicable to those of you in Israel. I'm happy to say that in the US, we remain number one, the largest legal market the good Lord ever created. According to Census Bureau figures, roughly $255 billion is spent each year on legal services in the United States, an enormous number. Roughly 2/3 of that is spent by American business on domestic legal matters. Those numbers are so outsized that they have managed to mask some of the underlying issues that have come to the fore since the collapse of Lehman Brothers and the advent of the Great Recession. For one thing, if you look back a decade at corporate legal spending in the United States, what you see is that in inflation-adjusted dollars, the spend is actually off by 25%. Now, no matter how good our friends in the business development units might be, that is a very tough nut to overcome. It's a terrible mixed metaphor in either Hebrew or English, and I apologize for it. At the same time that these inflation-adjusted dollars seem to be so diminished, for lack of a better word, the 200 largest firms in the United States have grown and have now maintained for the last 3 years a remarkable market share. These 200 firms account for roughly, by our estimates, 47% of every dollar spent on legal services by corporates in the United States. The only problem with occupying such a high level, and that's up from about 34% in 2004, the only problem with that is where can these 200 firms grow next? It's hard to see them getting an even more dominant share in the near future. Remains to be seen, of course. Third, partnership in these large firms simply isn't what it used to be. Not only is it more tenuous and therefore less permanent, but there's a smaller percentage of owners, a smaller percentage of equity partners in the 200 largest firms than there was even a decade ago. Despite all the rhetoric, leverage has actually increased over the last decade. It's now up to better than 3-to-1 on average. And to put it in a kind of Churchillian trope, never have so many lawyers at these firms worked so hard to benefit so few. The fourth issue confronting the large law firm market in the U.S. is how segmented it's become. Yes, they're all large, and yes, we're not going to have to throw benefits for most of them. They're doing quite nicely. But by size and ambition, these firms are very different. Yes, 20% of the lawyers in the 200 largest firms in America work abroad, but only 10 firms account for 2/3 of those lawyers who are the United States. All United States law firms have global practices. You only have to look at their websites to know that for sure. But in a great many of them, those global practices really involve acquiring and servicing clients who are determined to bring money into the United States rather than export it or working locally on behalf of clients around the world. The more difficult issue, probably for the bulk of the large firms in the United States, is the financial segmentation. Of the 200 largest firms, there are somewhere between 20 and 25 that have separated themselves from the rest in terms of economic performance. If you look at growth rates since the Great Recession of 2008 began, what you see is that that 10% of the 200 firms have shown market increase in their performance, both in terms of revenue and profits, while the other 90%, on average, have largely remained where they were 6 years ago. Now, what does all of this mean, if anything, for their interest in Israel? As best I can tell, for now, in the near future, Israel is likely to remain quite a lucrative niche market for United States law firms, and only really a handful of law firms, most of whom are interested in handling inbound work for Israeli tech companies, principally seeking financing or greater presence in the United States. Few, if any, are seriously contemplating opening new offices in Tel Aviv or elsewhere in Eretz Israel. They have, if you like, offices on El Al or in the Delta terminal that will largely accomplish what they may need, both for now and in the future. I see that my time is running out. I thank you very much for your attention. I apologize again for my inability to be with you in person. I'd love to follow up with any of you. You can reach me at either apress@alm.com or at aricpress@gmail.com. ARICPRESS@gmail.com. Thank you and good day.